Greetings, everyone, and welcome to day two of NRCDV's National Prevention Town Hall. Prevention is radical, shifting power, taking risks, and showing up. I am Lalitha Marshall, and I serve as Vice President of Advancement and Organizational Sustainability for the National Resource Center on Domestic Violence. I will be your MC for today. And at this time, please turn your attention to our Training Institute Director, Yvonne Ortiz.
Benvindo, bienvenidos. Feliz mes de herencia latina. Feliz mes de la herencia latina. NRCDV está comprometida a crear espacios accesibles
NRCDV is
Por eso, hoy estaremos
committed to
ofreciendo
providing the spaces.
simultánea en español.
We will be
Si
offering
necesita
simultaneous
alguna
interpretation in
interpretación,
Spanish.
haga clic en el
If you
globo
need
de
such
interpretación
interpretation,
y
please click on the
seleccione
globe and
español
select
para así
Spanish
escuchar a nuestros
so that
intérpretes.
you can listen to our
Gracias.
interpreters. Thank you.
Obrigada. Welcome.
Obrigada.
Happy Latina Heritage Month. NRCDV is committed to creating accessible and multilingual spaces. That is why we're offering live interpretation services. If you need to access interpretation in Spanish, click on the interpretation globe and select Spanish. For everyone else that wishes to listen to the English version, please select English. Thank you.
Now for some brief housekeeping notes. We are recording the event and will share it through our website. We are offering a live caption feature for all of our events. You can access this feature by clicking on Caption at the bottom of your screen. The Q&A feature provides an opportunity for attendees to enter questions for the presenters to respond. Remember, the public chat is open and visible to everyone participating in this webinar session. Please reach out to our staff if you are experiencing ongoing technical issues, but please note our limited capacity to address issues while the meeting is running. Before we turn the floor over to our presenters, we would like to remind you that the Wellness Room is available to you throughout the event. Because presenters will be discussing their experiences of racial trauma, this is meant to be a place of respite for those who may need to step away. NRCDV staff will be present in this space, sharing videos meant to soothe and heal. They are available to talk if that is requested. You can access this space at any time by clicking on the breakout room icon at the bottom of your screen. When the Wellness Room box pops up, hover over the number in the right-hand corner and the word Join should appear. Click on that to join the Wellness Room. Be aware that other participants can see who has visited the room. If you would like to anonymously step away, you can physically leave or close out of Zoom and rejoin at any point. Please remember to take care of yourself. All of this will also be in the chat, so you can reference it at any time. Now, I ask you to join me in welcoming NRCDV's Director of Program and Prevention, Casey Keene.
Hello, hello. On behalf of all of us at NRCDV, welcome to day two of our National Prevention Town Hall. I am coming to you today with a very full heart, with deep gratitude for this space and for the collective power that's in it. I want to take a moment to appreciate our presenters from yesterday, Renee Kim, Darren J. Dorsey, Valeriana Chakoti Bandua, Elise Moore Orby, Tami Truett Jerue, Jennifer Ponce, and Claire Barrera. They gave us so much of themselves, their passion, their pain, their wisdom, and their truths. Their stories resonated with our own experiences and what we know to be true. And they enforced what we know we must do to bring our actions and our values into alignment. We must shift power. We must take risks. We must show up. I want to allow a moment for us to take in the graphic recordings from yesterday's sessions that Andre Medina captured for us. While we share these, I also want to remind you how important it is that we translate this learning into action. The Padlets from yesterday are still available to you. We encourage you to revisit them and share the concrete actions that you will take to move this work forward. I see a lot of bold and courageous actions in there already. Let's support each other in following through. Let's hold each other accountable. After today's town hall is over, let's stay connected through our learning community, advancing collective liberation. Thank you, Brecken, for putting those links in the chat. Today's sessions will uplift the value of community-driven, culturally rooted prevention strategies and explore our readiness to shift power and leadership to end anti-Blackness in our movement. Andre Medina from On the Right Mind will be capturing today's sessions through live graphic illustration. To view their progress, you can look for Andre in the participants list and view or pin their art. We will also share their illustrations at the close of each session, and you will have the opportunity to reflect on them as you consider your action steps related to the content. As you take these in, I would like to recognize the amazing team that has helped to put this event together. My NRCDV teammates have been working hard behind the scenes to support this event, created in service to the vision and leadership of our planning team. That includes Tami Truett Jerue from the Alaska Native Women's Resource Center, Elise Moore Orby, and Jennifer Ponce from the California Partnership to End Domestic Violence, Ashley Klein Jimenez from Prevent Connect and Valor US, Megan Shore from the Oregon Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, Darren J. Dorsey from Rooting Movements, and Valeriana Chakoti Bandua from Necessary Interruptions and the Social Justice Fund Northwest. Friends, let's think boldly together today, and let's lean in to our collective power. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Casey. Now we ask that you please turn your attention to Tami Truett Jerue, Executive Director of the Alaska Native Women's Resource Center.
Good morning again. Adet, as they say in our language. I want to remind folks that with the land acknowledgement, the purpose and why that's significant is that it's a formal statement that recognizes our unique and enduring relationships that existed with, that exist between Indigenous peoples and their traditional territories, and commemorates the fact that Indigenous people have not and cannot be erased. Oftentimes, traditionally, we haven't. A lot of Indigenous people are not on their traditional lands. Fortunately, in Alaska, many of the people up here have not been forcibly removed from their original lands. And so this is another way of recognizing, but also finding out if you're interested in the story of the history of the land that you reside on. And so I will go ahead and do the acknowledgement, much like yesterday. For thousands of years, the Dene people of the lower Tanana River have cared for this place that I sit on, and as known as Fairbanks. So I would encourage all of you to put your feet on the ground, take a deep breath, and just think about that. Who lived on that land previous to buildings being built, infrastructure that's around you? Think about that. Their sustainable and symbiotic relationships with the animals, waters, and land has made Fairbanks, where I reside currently, what it is today. These relationships are embedded with the Dene language. Please place both feet on the ground, like I said. It's really important to potentially connect just with our ancestors and where we've lived. Excuse me. As a step toward reconciliation, we acknowledge the Indigenous stewardship and the histories. Land acknowledgement is about opening a space with gratefulness towards Indigenous people. It is also about personal work and self-examination. As I said, many of our people, and most of our Indigenous people identify as the people in some way in their language. May have been removed from their traditional lands, but then have claimed lands that they were forced into for the most part. The work, excuse me, the work this is work that we need to do ourselves. It's not forced work. I think it's exploring work. I don't know. I love history, and I just feel that there's a connection with ancestors, and I think that it's important to understand where the land that we live on came from, or who had it. I think, like they say, stewardship in the beginning. The work, because everywhere in this country and others, and there is and always will be Indigenous land. Land acknowledgement is about recognizing and thanking Indigenous people for your sustainable care and way of life in a place. Wherever we live, there were Indigenous peoples who cared for the land, and that is the acknowledgement of their stewardship. And I can't repeat this enough. If you're interested, I think it's really an important little bit to go ahead and explore whose land you may reside or work on. Dogaden.
Thank you, Tami. Now we are pleased to pass the floor to your Town Hall Weaver, life coach, consultant, activist, and mentor, Renee Kim.
Hello, everyone. It is wonderful to be back with you for the second day of this town hall. My neighbors are having tree work done, so in the honor of mindfulness, we're just going to block those chainsaw noises out. Anyway, all right. I hope that you had a good evening last night, that you were able to take care of yourself and do whatever it is that you needed to do to feel refreshed today. I wanted to start today with talking about the spiritual journey. As I shared with you yesterday, I was raised in church, and I was taught that thou shalt not lie. But you know what? We lie to ourselves every day. We tell ourselves that we can do it all, that we can make people happy, we can help everyone, we can do less at work, we can do more, with less at work and in our home life. Or we tell ourselves, I can't do that, or I shouldn't do that, not now. I'm not sure, or I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not ready. Each of these sentence starters are like flattening your fingers with a mallet, because you're counting down all the reasons why you can't do or say or be something. You keep thinking about this until hopefully one day you will have an awakening and you will realize, wait a minute, I can do this. I can say that. And I can be whatever I want to be because no one is holding me back except for myself. The lie I told myself was that I was not very smart, or I wasn't pretty like the white girls, and no one really loved me, not even my birth parents. I believed this for many years. Then one day, I learned more about the art of self-reflection and found out that I am not only smart, but a truly deep thinker, beautiful because of my humor, and loved by people who see me. We all have a narrative that we have held onto and been told to by the people around us. And it's time that you recreate that story and make it even more powerful than you ever imagined, because you can do this. Well, friends, my spiritual journey has not been what it was taught to me as a young child. It has been more of a walking through life, changing the lens of my glasses to see things in a new way, rather than in a set of dogmatic rules to live by. When I first started my business, I shared an office with a wise woman, and we were having coffee one day, and she said, you know, when I listen to you talk about all the jobs you've had, the process you went through to get them, and how you felt once you got there and when you left, I truly believe that you have been on a spiritual journey. I was taken aback and pondered this statement. How does one define and identify their spiritual journey? Well, I believe it can be found in your career path, your relationships, your spending habits, the food that you eat. There are all kinds of ways. It can make you feel comfortable or uncomfortable. And that's okay, because it's all a part of your life's personal roadmap. A spiritual journey is somewhat of an abstract concept, and yet most of us know what feels right to us and what feels wrong. When things feel right, you usually have been able to listen to your gut and your heart and your head, and you're able to make a decision that feels clear and centered. When a wrong decision has been made, you feel that pit in your stomach, like when you're coming down from a roller coaster. Maybe you can't sleep well. Maybe you ruminate too much over nothing. I believe that the spiritual journey is when you can learn to listen to your gut, tune in to how your body is feeling, calm your mind, and be at peace with the decision that you made. I will never be done with my spiritual journey, and I suspect you won't be either. When you think about all the emotional labor that goes into this work, think about how tenfold that is for people of color. We are not just add-on services like when I worked at the Gap and you add on a t-shirt. And that's how it feels sometimes when working in this movement. White-led programs with the most money often come up with ideas of how to add on culturally specific services and staff, but they forget about all the support, mentoring, and leadership development that needs to come with it. As someone who led statewide work groups for communities of color, I met a ton of brilliant and passionate people that wanted to bring their full selves to this work. And they had amazing experiences in human resources, finance, customer service, and they could have risen up to be the next executive director or finance director. But these people usually left their jobs within 2 years. They would call me for support on how to transition away from the DV field. And it broke my heart because this work is so needed. A trend I have seen in domestic violence agencies since the 1990s is that the baton of leadership is passed from one white executive director to another, and oftentimes board members become executive directors. In the 2000s, it seemed that people were coming into this work with master's degrees and were and still are surpassing staff who have worked at the agency since its inception, but kept at the frontline level and never promoted into leadership. Oh, they might have gotten some leadership opportunities, like, can you organize our annual volunteer recognition and highlight one of our volunteers of color? Or it would be so great if you could come to the board meeting and talk about your bilingual program. And maybe you can even bring a participant and have them share their story with the board. You know what's even worse is when we put people of color in leadership and director roles and expect even more from them than their white counterparts. We expect them to champion all issues around diversity and inclusion. And mostly, inside, we want to know if they think we're racist. There's one more thread to this story that is even more painful, and I have watched it come to life more often than I would like. A person of color is finally elevated to the leadership role they deserve. However, many of their mentors were white, so they began ruling like their mentors and internalize their own oppression and never support people of color in their own agency. It is so disappointing to watch, and even more so, I feel a ton of compassion for their hearts and their souls. I think what could have been done differently to help this person thrive. This really sets people up for failure. This is such an unfair way to promote people. And then we wonder, why don't things change in this movement? You know where I found salvation? I found it working in the DV movement, because it was in this work where I began to build the foundation of who I am today. I left my abusive marriage. I worked as a volunteer coordinator, listening to women tell me their stories of abuse, the same stuff that was going on at my home, but I kept denying. Remember the person who was so mad at me for uninstalling the internet? Well, she and I have been friends for over 30 years. Healing takes time. And one of those gifts of healing is resiliency. There is a beautiful concept called the wounded healer. I never really thought about it until I started writing for this event. I have a hunch that many of you may have these characteristics. You are a lifelong seeker. You have a strong sense of purpose. You've helped people since you were a child. You look at all the experiences as an opportunity for growth, and you are able to find calm in chaos. True liberation is attainable if we continue to work to dismantle racism, anti-Blackness, and oppression, and call out when we see others and ourselves exhibiting white supremacy culture in our words and our actions. I truly believe that we can create a world free from violence and bring up the next generation of leaders in this work to feel seen, heard, and valued. Thank you.